he was armed, but he didn't say anything about the concealed weapons permit until we got across the street.
Well, I have to correct you on that, because if you watch the video, he does say, "I'm armed," pauses for a second, "lawfully, and I have a concealed weapons permit,"
Okay.
as you were taking the sign from him. So that's a matter of record. That's what was said,
Yeah,
okay?
I'm not arguing with
Okay.
it. That's just my recollection.
Okay.
Of it.
Why did you seize the firearm before he was secured in handcuffs, or at all, if he was only being detained pending further investigation?
Well, at that point, because I thought he was committing a crime, otherwise I want to put him in handcuffs, that he's resisting without violence. I'm trying to conduct an investigation, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. He doesn't want to identify himself, so that's why I detained him. And if I'm detaining somebody, I'm not going to leave a weapon on them. If they're being lawfully detained, I wouldn't want to leave a weapon on them.
Okay, but wouldn't it be more prudent to handcuff him first and then deal with the weapon issue if you felt compelled to do that? Well, he was being handcuffed.
Right.
That had not been done yet, and you were already diving in his pockets.
Okay.
So, okay. All right. Why did you tell him his attorney is a court thing and not a police thing? Can you explain that?
We're not required to have an attorney present during our questioning. We're either conducting an investigation or we're conducting Miranda warning questioning, which...
Well, if he's invoking his right to have an attorney present...
He doesn't have to speak.
True.
But I mean, I'm not calling you as a lawyer to come to the scene of the crime.
After you walk him across the street, did he advise you that you were violating his civil rights and to proceed cautiously?
Yes.
What was your response to that? Do you recall?
I don't recall.
Okay. After removing his handcuffs, did you again tell him that panhandling was against city ordinance?
Pretty sure I did.
Okay.
Panhandling on private property, I believe is what I said.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Did you speak with the reporting party inside the business?
Yes.
Can
Not inside the business, it was in the front porch.
Can you describe your conversation with him?
I just asked him what he was complaining about, what was the problem with the mail, and he said that he was begging for money or asking customers for money on private property, and he said that he was standing in the same spot where I made contact with him at. So I went and explained to him that that wasn't private property, that was public.
So in his mind, there was a dispute over what the business owned and what was public property.
So he pointed out that he thought he owned all the way up to where there's the curb. Basically, it's a large curb that hits like the telephone or the light poles.
Right.
That he thought he owned all that. And then I pointed out to him down the street that Jason's corner has a canopy that stops at their line.
Right.
Which is a crease in the concrete.
So in liberal sense of the terms, their little sidewalk cafes where their tables are sort of could be construed that that's the business property, or they're allowed to conduct business there, and then the rest of it is the public sidewalk.
Which
would you agree?
Is pretty clearly, I mean, it's
Yeah.
the sidewalk was built, and then there's concrete between the building and the sidewalk. So it's all one big piece of sidewalk, but you can see a line that goes straight down the side, and I explained that to him.
Okay. To who?
The manager that was outside.
All right. 'Cause I heard you explain it to Mr. Gray later as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. After speaking with the business employee, the manager, Axel's his name, was there evidence that any crime or city ordinance had been committed at that point?
No.
So your investigation resulted in that there was no crime, even assuming that your assumption that panhandling was a crime.
Correct.
Okay.
He actually, when I asked him why, 'cause we get told that all the time, he threatened me or she threatened me.
Right.
And so you ask what that is, and he said, well, he didn't really say anything to my waitress. She just is afraid to come back outside now because he's here.
Okay.
And I said, well, that's not on him.
Right.
He's allowed to be where he's at.
Okay.
And
Fair
that's when I was done.
Did you call Sergeant Kirkland after the fact to advise him of the incident?
Yes.
Can you describe what his response was to you?
He immediately said, well, you violated every right he has.
Okay, I couldn't hear the other side of the conversation on the phone, but, what do you mean by that? I mean,
That's just what he said. I told him what went down. I told him, the manager's saying this and he's being defiant. So to get space between the manager and him, we detained him for the investigation, brought him over to my car, and then he's like, well, I hope he doesn't make a big deal out of this because you just, like, I don't know if he said what amendment, but he's like, you just violated his rights.
okay. I want to discuss with you a little bit about the Policy and Procedure Directive 15-2. The record, the DMS record shows that you signed this off on 9/19 of 2020. Okay? This was published in, a revision of it was published in 9 of 20, so when the revision came out, you had reviewed it and signed it. Specifically, the section that we're talking about is 15.2.17, investigated detentions. It says, an officer is permitted to stop and briefly detain a person for investigative purposes if the officer has a reasonable suspicion supported by articulable facts that criminal activity may be afoot, even if the officer lacks probable cause. Such encounters must be evaluated by considering the totality of the circumstances. Investigative detention should last no longer than is necessary to effectuate the purpose of the stop. The investigative methods employed should be the least intrusive means reasonably available to verify or dispel the officer's suspicion in a short period of time. Any investigative detention must conform to current law. I want to bring your attention that one of the current law that's applicable here is one of the attachments here. Well, there's several attachments, but the one I'm going to reference is Florida Statute 901-151, which is Florida Stop and Frisk Law. Okay? Are you familiar with that?
We just read it.
Okay. So, that being said, based on the facts of this incident, as reviewed in this investigation, do you feel that you violated Policy and Procedure Directive 15-2 regarding that investigative detention?
At the time, I did not. Looking back at it and being peeled apart, yes, I should have investigated further, and if he wasn't going to move off the sidewalk, he doesn't have to move off the sidewalk. We could have taken the investigation inside the establishment, since they were the complainant anyways, and figured out what went down. And then afterwards I find out that Galt had already done all this, but I wasn't made aware of any of it.
So, knowing what you know now, that the investigation has bared out, like I told you at the very beginning, the record is undisputed of what was said, what was done, and by everyone involved on video and audio. So knowing all that, and knowing now that there isn't any panhandling ordinance, there was no crime being committed, the investigation bore that out. If I'm understanding you right, with that fact, would you agree that the intent of the investigative detention was violated?
Yes.
Okay.
But if I had the knowledge that I have now, I would have never done that call would have went completely different.
Well, you have resources to tap into that knowledge. One, you can call your supervisor, right? Always. Two, you have access to MuniCode via your computer. You could check and see if panhandling is a violation or an ordinance before you even get there. Property issues can be checked on the property appraiser's website. Have you ever used that?
Yeah,
For property lines? And,
yeah, I mean, I knew the property lines.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm not disputing the fact that I should have investigated prior to.
And I want to make it clear that this subject had no obligation to identify himself.
Absolutely not. He wasn't committing a crime.
Right.
He knew that.
Yeah.
I didn't. I thought he was.
Okay. In retrospect, after reviewing your actions during this incident, would you like to make a statement or add anything else to the record?
I think my record speaks for itself, and the community as a whole would testify on my behalf that this is what he's putting on video is not my normal actions. This is not how I conduct myself. I don't handcuff people and detain them illegally. I thought I had a crime, and therefore I thought I had the right to detain him because he wasn't IDing himself, so that when I had the crime, it would have been resisting, but I could have just left him there to himself, told him to keep his hands out of his pockets. Galt was there. Galt could just stood by while I did more investigating.
Okay,
I know what I should have, in looking hindsight, I see where I went wrong.
okay.
But this is by no means the way I do business. I'm probably one of the more professional people in this department.
Okay, I just want to, the last thing I want to add is that, you know, he was not committing a crime, obviously, the facts bear that out, and you could have done things a lot differently. I appreciate your candor in answering the questions to the best of your ability. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. This is still an ongoing investigation, so I'm going to ask you not to speak with anyone else about this except your union rep or a personal representative of your choice. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm going to terminate recording at this time.